Hi, Mom. Glad you're flying home right now. Jim's been tracking you on the tracking app. Well, I don't know what it's called, but um, you're over Chicago at this moment. So, looking forward to talking with you tomorrow at some point in time after you get a lot of good sleep. So, we're now on to chapter 38 in the Book of My Life by St. Teresa of Avila, and it's called Flight of the Spirit. We have our book club this Thursday. So, one night I felt so ill that I had to excuse myself from the communal practice of silent prayer. I took my rosary with me so that at least I could occupy myself with vocal prayer. Since I was sitting in an oratory, it probably appeared that I was in a recollected state, but I was trying very hard not to let my mind become absorbed. Such techniques of little use are of little use, however, when the Lord wills otherwise. I had not been there for very long when such a forceful rapture seized my soul that I was powerless to resist it. It seemed to me that I was carried to heaven, where I was greeted by my father and mother. In the short amount of time it takes to recite an Ave Maria, I saw so many wondrous things that I remained utterly transported. The blessing felt too great to bear. Although it seemed as if it was over in a fleeting moment, the experience may have lasted much longer. I'm not sure. The vision felt totally real, but I started to worry that it might be a delusion. I didn't know what to do. I was embarrassed to go to my spiritual director about it. I don't think this was a matter of humility. I think I was afraid he would make fun of me. "You're a regular little St. Paul, aren't you, with your heavenly visions," he might say. Or, "Look who thinks she's St. Jerome." The fact that these glorious men had experienced similar visions made me worry even more. All I could do was cry. I didn't think I could possibly deserve to see what saints see. Finally, I overcame my resistance and went to my director. No matter how much I disliked talking about these things, I knew it was dangerous to remain silent about them, since I am often plagued with the fear that my experiences might be delusional. When he saw how distressed I was, he comforted me. He said all the right things to disengage me from my troubled thoughts. Over time, the Lord showed me other great secrets. He continued to do so. It's impossible for the soul to behold more than God reveals to her. No matter how much she may have sometimes wished to see beyond what God was manifesting, my soul saw exactly what she needed to see every time. And the truth is, the smallest part of what he revealed to me was so vast that it was enough to leave my soul in awe and put all the insignificant things of this life into perspective. I wish I could say something about even a fraction of what I came to know, but I find it impossible to express. If I try to use the analogy of light, it falls short. There is light here and there is light in that other place, but the latter so totally transcends the former that any comparison becomes meaningless. Next to the divine light, the light of the sun looks dull. However keen the imagination may be, it can never succeed in describing or illustrating this light or in conveying any of the other things the Lord taught me. Along with the knowledge he gives, the Lord bestows an ineffable delight. It is so sublime that 1,000 words cannot describe it. All the senses rejoice. The absolute exaltation it produces defies all language, and so it's better to say nothing. Once the Lord spent more than an hour revealing these wondrous things to me. It seemed that he never left my side that whole time. Finally he said to me, "Do you see, my daughter, what those who reject me lose? Please do not fail to tell them about it." "Ah, my beloved, unless your majesty gives them light, what good could I possibly do for those who are blinded by their own actions? There are some people who have already glimpsed your light. They may well be in a position to profit from hearing about your grandeurs, but not when the words come from the likes of me. As soon as I mention that you have revealed your mercy to such a floored person as myself, they will refuse to believe me. May your name be blessed. May your merciful name be blessed. I, for one, have seen dramatic improvement in myself." Hold on one second. "After you had blessed me, I wanted to remain in that state forever and never return to the mundane world. Direct contact with you, my beloved, left me with contempt for everything earthly. The things of this world felt like nothing but dung to me after that. I have seen how easy it is for those of us who dwell here to get caught up in empty concerns. Once, when I was staying with Dona Luisa de Cerda, I was suffering from severe pains in my chest. I used to have serious heart trouble, but I don't any more. Since she was a very charitable woman, she had some elaborate gold jewelry and some very precious stones brought out to show me. One of the diamonds in particular was extremely valuable. She thought it would cheer me up to see them. Recalling what the Lord has in store for us in the next world, I couldn't help but laugh at what people value here. I feel sorry for them. I realized how impossible it would be for me to cherish these objects even if I tried. The Lord would have to expunge the things He has shown me from my memory. A soul who has been given mastery of her own desires has a huge advantage, but she does not bequeath this dominion to herself. It is a gift from God. Someone who does not have this kind of detachment cannot understand what it's like. It's not a matter of willful self-control. It comes naturally, without any labor on our part. God does it all, and He does it by revealing His truths in such a way that they are imprinted on our souls. It is obvious to us that this detachment is a divine gift, because we never could have acquired it so quickly and easily on our own. I used to be terrified of death. Not any more. Since the visions, dying feels like the easiest thing in the world. In the moment of death, the servant of God finds herself released at last from this prison. Finally, she is free to rest. I think these raptures must be similar to the experience of the soul leaving the body. When God transports me like this, He carries my spirit away and reveals such sublime things to me that it seems as if I see everything that is sacred and excellent and all at once. We don't need to talk about the pain that happens when the soul and the body are finally separated from one another. This is insignificant, and it passes quickly. Besides, I have a feeling that death comes gently to those who truly love God and are unmoved by the trappings of this life. The other thing these visions gave me is the gift of recognizing that we are pilgrims in this world, and our real home lies beyond this one. It is wonderful to be given the chance to see the place where we will be living. If someone had to go and live forever in another country, it would make the hardships of the journey much easier for him if he knew that he was going to a place where he would be living in comfort and ease. The visions have also helped me keep my attention focused on heavenly things. It's easier to keep my conversations on a spiritual track. Cultivating this awareness has many benefits. Sometimes just glancing toward heaven is enough to recollect the soul. Since the Lord has graciously revealed a glimpse of what it's like, the soul has something on which to concentrate. There are times when the beings that live in that other world are more real to me than those who inhabit this one. They are my companions. They're the ones I turn to for real comfort. They feel truly alive, while those who live here on earth seem so dead. There are times when I think there is no one in the whole world to keep me company. I especially feel this when the raptures come over me. Everything I see with the eyes of this body seems to be a dream or a joke. I desire what I have already seen with the eyes of my soul. But it feels so far away, and this life is like death to me. Overall, I know that the Lord is doing us a great favor when He grants us these visions. But even as He is helping us, He is giving us a heavy cross to bear, since nothing in this life pleases us after seeing what He has shown us. Everything here feels like an impediment. Mercifully, the Beloved allows us to forget from time to time. Otherwise, I don't know how we could live. May God be blessed and praised forever. May it be His will, by the blood His Son shed for me, that what happened to Lucifer never happened to me. That fallen angel lost everything through his own fault. I have already learned something about God's great blessings and have begun to enjoy them. May God, being who He is, not allow me to lose what He has given me. Sometimes I become very afraid about this, but mostly God's mercy makes me feel safe. He has freed me from so many transgressions that I cannot imagine He would ever let me out of His hands again. I beg you to beg God never to let me go astray. None of those favors were as powerful as the one of which I am about to speak. Although the greatness of each blessing is incomparable, especially when considered in and of itself, this particular experience is remarkable for the way it fortified my soul. One day, on the eve of Pentecost, I went after Mass to a secluded place where I liked to pray. I began to read about this holy day in the Carthusian book called The Life of Christ. I read about the signs that demonstrate to beginning, adept, and perfect practitioners of prayer whether the Holy Spirit is with them. It made me realize that, as far as I could tell, He was with me. I praised the goodness of God and remembered that the last time I had read this same passage, I lacked much of what I now had. I had been well aware of this deficiency at the time, just as I was now conscious of how far I had come. So I understood what a great favor the Lord had granted me. I began to reflect on the punishment I deserved for the bad things I had done and gave thanks to God. I could hardly believe my soul. The changes he had made in me were so radical. While I was musing on this, a powerful energy abruptly swept over me. It seemed like my soul didn't fit in my body anymore and wanted to get out. She couldn't wait a moment longer to attain such goodness. This impulse was so extreme that there was nothing I could do to help myself. It felt very different from other transports. My soul was so stirred up that she didn't know what had happened to her or what she wanted. I was sitting down, but my natural strength drained out of me so quickly that I had to lean against the wall to keep from falling over. In the midst of this state, I saw a dove above my head. It was very different from the doves of this world, much larger. It didn't have typical feathers. Instead, the wings seemed to be made of tiny shells that sparkled like intense brilliance. I thought I could hear the sound of the dove. I thought I could hear the sound the dove made with the movement of its great wings. It fluttered over me for the space of an Ave Maria, but my soul was so transported that as I lost myself, I lost sight of the dove. Ordinarily, such a dramatic experience would have frightened and agitated me, but instead my spirit was soothed by the presence of such a good guest, and I relaxed into the vision. My soul lingered in rapture, and I was filled with a joyous quietude. The glory of this rapture was exceedingly great. For the rest of Pentecost, I remained spellbound and stupefied. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was bewildered by my capacity to receive such an exalted gift. I could hardly hear or see anything. Yet as I basked in a wondrous interior delight, I was bewildered by my capacity to receive such an exalted gift. I could hardly hear or see anything, yet I basked in a wondrous interior delight. I noticed that from that day forward I made tremendous progress on the path. My love of God increased dramatically, and my virtues grew much stronger. May he be forever blessed and praised. I saw that same dove on another occasion. This time it was hovering over the head of the Dominican friar Pedro Abanez. Its great wings and the rays of light that radiated from them extended much farther than when I saw it over my own head. I understood that the soul of this man was meant to bring many other souls to God. On yet another occasion, I saw Our Lady drape a bright white cloak over Father Ebenez's shoulders. I am giving this to him because of the service he has rendered us in helping found this house of prayer, she said. This cloak is a sign that I will keep his soul spotless from now on, and he shall never fall into grave error. And I am certain this is so. Father Ebenez died a few years later. His life was pure and his death so holy that insofar as we on earth can know such things, there is no way to doubt the Blessed Mother's promise. A friar who was present at the deathbed told me that just before Father Ibanez died, he told the friar that St. Thomas was with him. He died with great joy. He was excited to be freed from this exile. Since his death, Father Ibanez has appeared to me several times in resplendent glory and told me a few things. By the time he died, his practice of prayer had reached such a high level that even though he wanted to avoid contemplative prayer because of his weak health, his raptures kept carrying him away. Father Ibanez wrote to me shortly before he died. What should I do, he asked. Often when I've finished celebrating Mass, I slip into a rapture and there's nothing I can do to stop it. At the end of his life, God rewarded Father Ibanez for the greatest service he had offered throughout his life. I also witnessed some of the wondrous blessings God bestowed on Gaspar del Salazar, the Jesuit director I have written about. I will avoid mentioning these things here so that this account will not be too long. Father de Salazar once experienced a terrible trial in which he was being unfairly accused and persecuted. He found himself in a state of deep affliction. One day, as the host was elevated during Mass, I saw Christ on the cross behind Father de Salazar. Christ told me some comforting words to convey to the priest. He said some other things that foretold what was to come, and reminded the priest of what Christ had suffered for him, even as he announced that Father de Salazar should prepare himself to suffer. This message gave him courage and solace, and everything turned out the way the Lord had told me it would. I've seen many other great things concerning the Jesuit order. Sometimes I have seen its members in heaven carrying white banners in their hands, and the Lord has shown me other wonderful things about them. That's why I admire the Society of Jesus so much. Every contact I have with them further reinforces my certainty that their lives conform to what God has told me about them. One night while I was in prayer, the Lord began to remind me how bad my life used to be. His words filled me with shame and dismay. Although he did not speak harshly, it triggered an all-consuming regret and grief in me. But a single word from him stimulates more dramatic progress and self-knowledge than many days of reflection on our own wretchedness. The divine message bears the indelible stamp of truth. The Lord recalled for me the extremely superficial friendships I had cultivated in my youth. He told me that I should be happy that my will, which has been so badly occupied with vanity, was now fixed on him. He promised to honor my desire to be with him. Okay, and I'm fading fast, and I shouldn't be, but I am. I'm going to see if I can get through. I don't think I can. I'm